Dude, I did it so bad.
We don't want to look like to your crew chief here.
Yeah,
so.
we don't want to look like we're soft. Is it you or the car?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, everybody? David Gravel here. This is the second episode of the Gravel Show. We've been behind this off season, so that's why we snuck one in on Sunday, and we have a great guest today with Brad Sweet. Obviously, everybody's saying it's the guy that I cannot beat. So we're going to have him on the show. We'll talk about it. We'll talk some shit to each other. We'll talk about the high limit season, high limit versus outlaws. Where's high limit going? We have a lot of topics. I have 8 major topics to talk about here on my list. So really looking forward to it. Just want to thank, to start off the show, our sponsors of the show, Marlowe's Metal Fabricating. They've been supporting the Gravel Show for several years. Got to thank them. If you need any metal work done, mostly sheet metal work, punching out whatever you need, Dover, Pennsylvania, hit up Marlowe's Metal Fabricating, and they will hook you up. You also got to thank Houston Speedway, Billion Automotive, Jackson Motorplex, Impact Signs, Butler Built Seats, and Simpson Racing Products. Without all those people, we couldn't do what we do. Really excited for the show today. We're going to talk about the rule changes, Brad's crew changes this year, what's new and exciting on the high limit schedule. Will the Outlaws and high limit ever get along? Will they work together? You know, a lot of good topics. So I'm really looking forward to it, and not sure if Brad is in here yet, but I'll give him an extra minute or two to confirm that he's good and has great audio. But how's everybody doing on a Tuesday? My fantasy football leagues are going really well. We're about to enter the playoffs this week, and I made the playoffs with both teams. So fingers crossed, hopefully he can get some wins. Yeah, Brad says he's in. So let's not waste any time and get him in here. Bradley, what's going on?
Hey, bud. How's it going? Long time no see, huh?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Just been home and getting ready for Australia. Well, Christmas, PRI, then Savannah's birthday, then Christmas, then Australia. So
are you going to PRI then?
Yeah, I'm going to shoot the PRI tomorrow, and then only be there a couple days because Savannah's turning 7, so we're having her birthday party this weekend, and she would not want me to miss that. I don't want to miss it either.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm going to. I fly out tomorrow, so hopefully we'll see you. Maybe have a wrestling match or maybe have a drink after the show.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, yeah, thanks for having me on here.
Where's the studio you normally have in your shop with all your trophies and stuff?
Yeah, I usually have that, but I've been working all day today, so I just this is where I do a lot of my just calls and stuff throughout the day. So just stayed here in my little office. It's Savannah uses it as a schoolroom, and then I use it as an office at times.
Heck yeah. Gotcha. You being a series owner today, or what have you been working with your hands?
Yeah, so just a lot of behind the scenes. Obviously PRI is coming up, so just getting all the information out to the teams about where we're at this year with kind of our package for tow money and points fund. We made some updates, and had a call with Australia. We're getting ready for Perth, so that's coming quick. So just working on logistics and run a show over there, and then just kind of doing the day-to-day operational stuff that's kind of behind the scenes of running the series. So it used to be end the season and then just enjoy myself and not do really anything, but now the work really begins in the off season. It's actually a lot busier in the planning phase. So but it's fun to dream big and really get to think about where sprint car racing can go. So I'm enjoying the process. It's a lot of work, but we got a great team at High Limit, so it's fun to really keep digging and see what we can accomplish.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I'm sure you've been asked this several times, but first full-time season, running a series, you obviously had some ups, you had some downs. I guess what are the biggest maybe surprises or what was the biggest thing you learned this year? Obviously juggling a lot, but just the first year of a full series?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. There's a lot to it all. Just every aspect of, just the planning phase of each event that you're putting on, and having a staff of, that's a full time staff, and just we were pretty lucky to have a really good experienced staff. We got some really great people at High Limit that kind of believed in our vision, and are coming bringing experience to the table. So I think it mitigated a lot of some of the growing pains that we possibly could have had on that side. But yeah, I mean, it's, when you're a new brand and you're going to markets and you're trying to sell tickets, we definitely had some events that didn't do as well as we'd hoped. So, there was some learning on that side. So I think we took some lessons that we learned this year, and hopefully made some improvements, for next year on our schedule. And just communicating, well with our team owners, and trying to find the avenues to keep growing the sport that we all love.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you had a lot of people support for your first season. I was surprised with how many hopped on board. Guys like Rico and Brent Marks, guys that haven't run for points in a long time. I felt like those are two crucial guys to support you guys, and obviously had Kyle a lot early in the season, but then obviously Corey Day blossoming into the sprint car driver. He's become this year was a huge asset, and then you just never know with guys like Tanner Thorson, and Jacob was good, early in the season, it seemed like, but it seems like he has had a lot of comers and goers. I would say, everybody kind of had their chance to shine, I guess, throughout the year, but ups and downs with a lot of the full-time guys, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like sprint car racing was kind of in a weird place where you had, the World of Outlaws was a group of, 10 or 12 teams traveling, but there was all these teams that were kind of running, true outlaw, I guess, schedules is what they were calling it. And so, the All-Stars maybe weren't quite big enough for some of those teams, and the Outlaws were maybe too much of a commitment. So I think what we were able to do is provide like a middle ground where, you still get to go race a lot, you have some benefits, but the freedom, the freedom side of things was really appealing. And then also, the future of what the charters could be, just the fact that we want to grow with our teams and be transparent, I think, resonated well with these people that are working so hard to, get these teams up and down the road. Because I think in a perfect world, we could all agree that, a sustainable business model for team owners would be, much better than these team owners that come and go, or they run out of money, or just professionalizing that aspect of the sport's pretty important, especially for guys like you and me to have success, and the next generation to come up. We need successful car owners.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I feel like a lot of car owners have come in and out of the sport. There's less and less car owners that actually just straight up hire drivers. Obviously, funding is an important thing nowadays because it's so damn expensive. But, when we both started Wing Sprint Car Racing, there's so many car owners that are no longer involved in our sport. And, I think with this influx of money, if you just look at the earnings of how many people earned like $350,000 and up this year overall in the country. I remember looking at the stats when Donnie won 25 or 30 races in a year. He was bringing in maybe 500 or 600, and that was an amazing season. So for like 10 or 12 guys to be earning 350 or more in a season, I think definitely helps these teams go up and down the road. And there's positives and negatives to having these two national series with High Limit and World of Outlaws, but in the short term, I think it gives these people an opportunity to make more money. Is one day these, series going to combine? Who knows, right? But I feel like for right now, this might be the best time ever in sprint car racing. Say if you're a mid-tier guy, it's splitting up the talent pool a little bit. I felt like if you combine both of these series together, you're not going to have everybody run. You're not going to have 30 guys on a series, in my opinion. But, you put all that talent pool together. Some guys aren't going to want to step up to the plate and run a full-time schedule, right? Or a full-time points deal with the Outlaws or High Limit. So it's created a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. And some people worked out really great for, and then other guys it didn't work out for this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say that, you saw a lot of teams in that mid-tier section take the step up to running a national series, and you saw a lot of drivers that maybe wouldn't have got the opportunity to showcase talent, just guys that typically wouldn't make dashes or run up front as often were able to have better runs and make a little bit more money and showcase their talent to owners and fans out there. So I do think there's some positivity to it, and I think when we all come together and run the really big races, you can see how tough the competition really gets when it's like that. And it's hard for those mid-tier teams to make much money when all the top talent are together. So I'd say there's some positives. I agree there's probably some negatives. Right now I feel like the sport gained a lot by having both series. There's a lot of talk about sprint car racing, a lot of attention on it, and honestly both series put on great events throughout the season. A lot of exciting entertainment throughout the year. So it's a big United States. I think as we grow and kind of fit into the ecosystem, I think it'll all work itself out eventually. So we'll see. Obviously it's good for the drivers, and that's I think Kyle and I's ultimate goal all along was to try to grow sprint car racing. It's not to take it backwards. So I think we're very mindful of the moves we make, and very open-minded to what the future could hold, or if we need to pivot in a different direction. We certainly have the health of the sport as the top priority, and that means the health for the drivers and the team owners and the fans. So we don't want to be diluting things, oversaturating things. It just ends up hurting everybody. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get another year under our belt here. We got a great schedule ahead of us, and talking to a lot of team owners and teams. I think there's still some teams figuring out which direction they're going to go, but I think you're going to see two again full rosters, both World of Outlaws and High Limit. So that's a positive thing for sure.
Yeah, I guess the health of the sport. You hear Brian Carter gets on with MRN every year and talks about the health of the sport and trying to, kind of the farm system, the people in the lower tiers, the locals, the ASCS. He's talking a lot about, the All-Stars. You guys got a lot of backlash on, getting the All-Stars gone in a way. And then now this year, the All-Stars are back. So I guess, is that something you guys are hands off on? And Rich Farmer is kind of taking the reins, but I know everybody in Ohio is very excited, and I see they're going to dabble in Michigan a little bit, and Pennsylvania and stuff like that, and Indiana. So I think that's a great thing. And could you elaborate on that some?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, that we need strong, regional tours to kind of support, and create rivalries with our national series, because we don't bring full fields, in to put on shows. You need, and we do find that when there's a strong region or a strong local track that has a good program, you're much more successful, on your ticket sales, having a track that got a good rapport with their fans. So that's things that we noticed and have learned this year is, and we never intended to make the All-Stars disappear forever. Obviously, we didn't want confusion when we launched High Limit, and we wanted the All-Stars maybe to try to fit into the ecosystem as the true regional series, or more Ohio-based series that it was intended to maybe be. So opportunity was there, owning the naming rights to both that and Speed Week to bring it back. And Rich seems ambitious. Obviously, we still kind of have a partnership with Rich, and we're involved, in, kind of the relaunch with Rich. So we'll kind of see how this year goes. And obviously he's doing a good job, put a nice schedule together, and really rallied the teams and got Speed Week, and, Eldora's supporting Speed Week and all the good tracks in Ohio. So I think it's a win-win for Ohio and that region of racers. Those purses will be a little bigger. Speed Week will be good for the fans, and a lot of good shows there. So yeah, we're excited. We just, like I said, we just don't want to oversaturate things and dilute things and make it hard for the fans to see what they want to see. So I think we're just trying to be mindful as we bring that back into the ecosystem and what that'll look like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there with the FAST and the AFCS and stuff like that. But I know Ohio Speed Week, some people were happy with and how it went, others weren't. So I see each race is going to pay $7,500 to win or more, which I think is a great thing for that region. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to all that. Of course, Levi will not go to sleep, so wrestling him.
Are you on a babysitting dad duty tonight and David Gravel show?
No, mom's here, but somehow he just goes free and runs away just magically. So
yeah. Had to change his diaper.
So and somehow he got away. So sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
He loves this orange light back here. He needs to have the orange light. And
this is what the fans. I think this is what the fans want to see. They want to see the real lives of what we actually do when we're not racing. It's just a couple normal dads that are at home.
Yeah, we're normal people. I mean, I'm doing laundry and doing dishes and doing all that fun stuff. It's not that glamorous all the time, but sometimes it feels good to be a normal person and do normal people shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you doing Chili Bowl this year?
No Chili Bowl. I'm doing no Australia, no Chili Bowl, just PRI show, and then I'll go to the shop, get some of my Chasm stuff fitted up, and be there for probably 5 days or so.
Okay, so you're switching to the Chasm, or you're going to run the Chasm system this year?
Mostly. We'll have a majority of our cars probably out of the 5 that we're going to have in circulation. 4 of them will be set up for it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if every fan knows what the Chasm system is, but it's a new system where your seat, can absorb this. It basically rides on pucks. And so on those impacts that we see a lot of, I guess the frame rails hit the ground, a lot of down, slam down, there's some pucks that are in there that absorb some of that energy. So it's kind of a new system. I ran it this year and liked it. So obviously anytime that we can get safety innovation, I think that's a good thing in sprint car racing.
Did you see that new one that came out?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. And I believe I talked to Mark Smith because I felt like he either came up with something similar or that's the same system he was talking about a couple months ago. But I think the problem is it raises you up quite a bit, more than the Chasm thing, but I'm not exactly sure. So I need to get the details. They'll probably be at PRI if I had to guess, but I know in that video he said you have to have a really low butt bar, but then you have the problem of the torque tube hitting that. So it'll be interesting to see, all the fine details on that one. But I'm all for competition and I'm all for, trying to get, products out there to keep drivers, safe. And, these simple little crashes sometimes, these compression deals lately seem to be more, reoccurring. I think that California stuff that happened between those 2 drivers, definitely the mounting and the length of the bolts and stuff that we kind of all know were a little bit wrong. But I think, having some sort of cushion is definitely an ideal thing. But in my opinion, I would really want to see a system that the belts bolt to the seat, just like the NASCAR stuff, because then there is no negative to these devices that do compress, you know what I mean? And puts all the people that say those things to bed. So I think I'm sure somebody's working on it, and I'm excited for the future of this, evolving even more.
Yeah, for sure. I think the seatbelts being mounted to the seats will be something that happens in the future once someone comes up with a good system. So anytime you make these safety changes, there's so many different cars and levels of sprint cars across the country that you just have to be careful. We don't want someone to be mounting something wrong. So definitely it's nice to see progress and innovation in the safety side of the seats and the cockpits and things like that. So certainly, that Chase Johnson deal, and it's just you got to learn from these accidents each time they happen, and just try to keep improving and making recommendations on what we learned from the wreck to try to mitigate another accident from happening.
Yeah, no doubt. So one of the topics I wanted to talk about was rule changes. High Limit came out and said, pretty obvious stuff, and you guys came out with press releases and stuff, and came out with some shaking the feathers here on some of the rule changes. Now, the Wicker Bill one, I don't think is a big deal. And I know yours is something that you could change throughout the year. You're going to do it for a month or two and see where you're going to be on all that. But in cockpit adjusters, and then obviously the air pump with the bleeders, some people love it. Some people hate it. I'll let you talk, and then I guess I'll give my opinion after the fact. And I guess let us know why the rule changes.
Yeah, so the Wicker Bill, there's a couple different reasons. I mean, I think Knoxville is still making their decision, and we always want our drivers to have the best shot to win the Knoxville Nationals. So if they, stay on a bigger wicker, we think that gives our drivers, a chance to get their cars right on the bigger wicker. So we'll wait and see with Knoxville. But also with the Wicker Bills, it's such a simple change. Like, we spent a whole year doing 1 inch. We kind of feel like a lot of the rules just get changed, and we don't necessarily talk about the overall product of the racing. There's data that says, that not much changed, but you talk to amongst the group of, drivers, and it's kind of a mixed bag, but we definitely feel like we want to make sure that we're talking about the product of racing. We want to make sure that we're having the 2 and 3 wide racing and having cars pass cars. And, sometimes you see cars passing cars, but it did seem like a lot of nights there was a lot of stagnant racing until you get to lap traffic. So I think it gives us a chance to start the season, and then maybe back to back a few things, and just let our group decide what's going to be best for high limit moving forward. It's such a cheap part that we don't really feel like it's that big a deal to go back to a 1 inch or stay on 1.5 inches. It's just a 1/2 inch of Wicker Bill that might make the racing a touch better. As far as the in-cockpit shock adjuster, kind of the same concept. It's very cheap part. It's allowing the drivers to maybe have one extra tool in the car. Once again, just trying to think about the racing product. If that's, could help the racing a little bit, maybe could help a driver learn his car a little bit quicker. You could essentially try 2 different shocks in a heat race instead of, have to come in, take the shock off, put a different shock on. You could essentially try more rebound in your right rear, or more compression, or, certain things through the night, and fine tune your car a little bit better. And then also in the main event, you might be able to, if you're off a little, make that slight adjustment to help get your car better. So just trying to give the drivers a tool with something that's cheap and easy, that we think will potentially make our racing a little better. And then as far as the air pumps, I just feel like it's 100% of a safety thing. I don't feel like air pumps are performance, because the whole point of the bleeder is to bleed the tire down, and that's the performance side. Is you're always choosing, where you want to bleed your tire down to, 7-8 pounds. You're kind of choosing the spot, and that's the performance. Because if you get too much air in the tire, it's obviously horrible, which we both have experienced in our career. But my thought was, a pinhole, or the bleeder that you get a long red and it's cold outside and it sticks. You see a lot of wrecks after those, and you see a lot of blown tires after those. So if it could mitigate 5 or 10% of those accidents, it could speed up our shows, and plus it could be safer for drivers that do blow a tire and run straight into the wall. So I think a lot of the rules makers haven't necessarily sat in the cars, and one instance I had 2 years ago at Knoxville was, I knew I had a low right rear, but there was nothing I could do. I had to try to finish the race, and I blew on like the last lap and went straight into the wall and destroyed the car, and it hurt. And I just, it's just like things like that, and then I had 2 races this year where I had to finish on like 4 pounds of air, and you're just waiting for it to explode. So I just feel like, I don't see the negativity of adding that, as viewing it as a safety innovation, I guess.
So I'll start from the top. The Wicker Bill thing, I don't know if there's real data. Obviously, you kind of touched on it. I think it's harder to run the bottom of the racetrack with less Wicker Bill. But the guys that do figure it out, I think that gives them an advantage. I think that, say, for instance, Donnie passed a lot of race cars this year. Didn't qualify very good and always put himself in the hole. But, what he did at Eldora, running through the middle where like nobody could do that, truly nobody could run through the middle. I felt like sometimes we had the bottom figured out at some places, but I don't disagree that, the 2-inch or a bigger wicker bill could be better for racing. I don't know if anybody could say it can for sure. But if you split the difference and go to 1.5 inches, I guess that's right in the middle, right? And I think a 1/2 inch isn't a big difference, but a 1-inch difference is a big difference. So
Yeah. Agreed.
it's going to be, yeah, you're saying hi, Levi. I feel like on all this stuff, the air pump thing isn't a big deal if you have it or don't. If you go to a different series, it's not really a performance advantage. Say if you're used to having it and then you don't have it. But I feel like if you're an outlaw team and you go to 4 high limit races, you probably want to have that air pump. Have that air pump just to have it, because if other people have it, you want to have it.
Well, and you just never know, right? I mean, that's kind of the point of it is if you're leading Joker's jackpot 100,000 to win, and you get a pinhole or a bleeder, that could save you. That air pump could save you potentially. So I do think that it's I know there's a little bit of uproar on like the cost of it, but I just feel like it's going to save each team one time. And it's not something that necessarily wears out. I feel like it was cheap enough, and then there was enough of an argument on the safety side that it just made sense. And it could save car owners money even on the performance side if it saves you one night not blowing a tire and you're leading the race or running good. So we'll see on that one.
Yeah, the shock adjuster. Now I haven't been around that long, 10 years or so, or a little bit more than that, but back in the day, did they have shock adjusters? Like when there was no weight rules and stuff, do you know the history behind it all? Did wing sprint cars have shock adjusters?
I actually asked that question, when Mike Hess kind of presented me with these changes, and I didn't have it on my radar at all because I'm like you, I'd never really had it in my cars besides in USAC. And, they were kind of talking about 2, and I kind of just said, like, why don't we just start with, if you guys think this will be better and worth a try, let's just try 1. But I guess, when like the double adjustable, gas shocks started coming out, they banned them because there were still a lot of guys that had shocks that didn't have adjusters on them, pros and stuff. So it was just too much of an advantage. But now everybody has gas shocks with adjusters. So the advantage, it's not like guys can't run an adjustable shock now. So I think it was just in a rule that was made and no one's ever kind of touched upon. But I do know like IRA has shock adjusters in their cars, and USAC's, they have 8 knobs in all of their cars. So I figured starting with 1 and just seeing what everybody thought would allow. Just kind of like you have your wing slider, and now you have like maybe some left rear rebound or right rear rebound or something. I don't think it's going to be mind blowing. It's not going to change anything like crazy. I think it just may give you one little tool. If you're just a little off and you want to try something, you might have something up your sleeve. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it really gives the driver more opportunity, I guess, to adjust and adapt and try to make their car better. And, people that are smart and good with race cars, can, make their car better. And, other cars, Levi just took down my light, of course. Always something going on here.
I just locked the door.
But yeah, I feel like, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what's going to go down.
The other thing I think it does too is like, it allows like a local team or a mid-tier team like that doesn't get in the dash. Like your crew chief would probably tell you, hey, you're starting with 100, you got 100 pounds of rebound on your right rear, maybe with 2 to go, like crank on it 2 turns and see, like it would allow you to almost run 2 shocks in a race, which is going to help you get your car better quicker, I feel like. So I think it helps teams that run a little less maybe to help maybe get their cars fine-tuned a little quicker.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's going to be good for people like you, and then these young kids that don't really know, they could maybe tune themselves out if they don't know. But, guys like Buddy or these USAC guys and midgets, I feel like people like Logan Seavey thrive because I feel like they have a good understanding on, how their car reacts and how to make their car better. And I think, it puts in the driver's hands more, right? And it's going to be interesting to see, if maybe you start out really tight or loose in the beginning of a feature, if you could get your car better or closer by the end of the feature.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's worth a try for what a shock adjuster costs, and if it goes good, we can always add them, and if it goes bad, we can always go take it back off. So it's just something that we thought was worth a try to try to make the racing a little better.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so another big change in your life, Brad. Crew changes this year. Eric going over to Casey. You thought you didn't have Ty Wolfgang. Now you got Ty Wolfgang back and all that stuff that went down. How are you, viewing this? I feel like, you could expand on it, but since, carrying this responsibility with high limit and being super involved, I'm guessing you don't maybe have as much time as you used to focusing and helping on the race car and getting that thing tuned in. And how do you feel like, obviously change is never a great feeling, but obviously you guys have been in the same program and package for a long time. So expand on that.
Yeah, obviously, I think when you race for championships as you did this year, you kind of understand like the amount of stress, level and the intensity, and it's different than every other position, every other team out there that what they're going through versus what you go through when you're racing for points. And so I think just after 6 years, I think Eric's, just kind of ready for something maybe a little bit different, maybe have some more weekends off, or I'm not sure exactly what their plans are, but I think he was just ready for something a little different. I think the intensity and just, it got a little tougher with the extra things that I was doing, maybe more pressure on him, and maybe I was, a little more, out of tune and in tune. And I think, I think he got to the point where he was ready for just a change. So the good thing is he stayed at KKR, and me and Eric still have a really good relationship. There's literally like, we're super proud of everything we've accomplished. We're like brothers, and it's just, I think this will be kind of a different, challenge this year. I think Ty's a total opposite of Eric. He's super passionate and young and just wants to be racing and wants to be there. And obviously Eric's been around for a long time. So I do think we'll have some growing pains this year. But having Eric at KKR still is, kind of being more like in charge of overall competitions is still going to be very helpful for us. And then just with my experiences, I think, and everything that I can bring to a race team, I think that'll help mitigate some of the learning curve. So, yeah, we're going to be a young team, and obviously, excited to race with Ty this year. I haven't thought too much on it. I've just been working hard, so it's kind of like, a little bit different when you call. I'm calling Ty to talk about our cars and our wings and our engines and things like that. So, it's a little different, but Ty's been with us for a few years, so it's at least a familiar face. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this season. I think just excited to get racing and start the year in Volusia and go from there.
Do you have your 3 crew guys figured out? Do you have your same tire guys last year?
Yeah, same tire guy. Moved Ty to crew chief, and then we hired another guy from the midget ranks. So excited to meet him once I get back there. I haven't met him yet, but yeah, we've got 2 full teams, and everything's going good at KKR right now.
Cool. I'm sure. I don't know if Casey's ever had kind of the A team, having your old tire guy back.
Yeah, he's definitely got a more experienced team than we do for sure. So I'm not sure exactly 100% on Casey's plans, if he'll run the full season or if he'll if he there's been a lot of speculation, but I think he's pretty open-minded to what they're going to do this year. So yeah, they'll be good. It'll be good to have two solid teams like that. We've always bounced ideas off each other anyway, so the dynamics will just change a little bit now.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess let's bring up the schedule and we'll talk about the schedule a little bit. You talk about some of the teams that were always on the fence of wanting to be, a traveling series. And now you had a lot of people that hopped on board. But now, you're going to California twice or two West Coast. Did you get any backlash from current teams or new teams trying to join? Is that a deal breaker for people? Are people okay with it because you have 2 6-figure paydays on the West Coast? You could talk about some things on the schedule and then talk about maybe about that topic specifically as well.
Yeah, I think that West Coast deal, sounds more scary than if you really kind of look at it. In March, I think we always struggle to find places to race. I mean, even when I was on the Outlaws, it's we used to go to California and spend 4 to 6 weeks to start the season out here, and that was always hit or miss, and that's why we made the change. And then we went to Pennsylvania for a year. That didn't work. We got snowed out, and then we've been trying to run the South, but even that, you can get the Cotton Bowl and be rained out. You guys had tons of hit and miss, so it's just like if we're gonna race, let's just choose the best chances to race. And I mean, we'll try it. Obviously, getting Vegas was a huge part of making the decision. I mean, you're on a big chance to be in front of a lot of fans during NASCAR weekend on Saturday night at Las Vegas, the dirt track at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So excited to kind of, kick our season off there. It makes a lot of sense. And then, once you're in Vegas, it's 4 hours to Tulare, an hour to Bakersfield, a couple hours down to Paris, 4 hours to Phoenix, and then you basically catch Vado 6 hours, and then another 4 hours to Amarillo and Dodge City. So if you really look at it that way, the way we kind of set it up with 2 midweek events and kind of everything for the teams, they're really only on the road for 3 to 4 weekends, and then they kind of have a break in April to kind of go do whatever they want. So we didn't get a lot of pushback because I think Phoenix typically is a good place to race in March. Southern California, Vegas.
What's the track in Phoenix?
It's called Casa Grande, and we kind of run a partnership with Jerry Petty, who owns Avante Windows and Doors, and is kind of investing quite a bit of money in those tracks and helping to kind of build those events. So yeah, it'd be nice to get back to that Phoenix market, and hopefully that'll be a cool track. It looks really cool. It's a 3/8 high banked. They're putting a wall around it now, so yeah, excited to go there. And obviously we always had good crowds in that Phoenix area. So yeah, it just kind of came together, and we asked our car owners, and a lot of them liked the concept of doing something different. So yeah, I think the basically Amarillo is a new market for us, and ending in Dodge City. So yeah, I think it'll be good. I think the teams were excited to try something different and race in front of big crowds at Vegas, which was kind of the tipping point. And I don't know, new teams, I think you got to look at you're either going to travel and sign up for something that's 90 or 88 races or 87 races and traveling across the country one way or another. So the two choices are, ours just has a little freedom. This year I ran, I think, 67 races. What did you end up at? 72 or so?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're within 5. I just had a lot more. I raced a lot more midweek races than you, and had a lot more, weekends off throughout the season. So, which I enjoyed personally. So, yeah. Anyway, I think we're all good.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I think everybody talked about wanting to go back to Vegas, and the no equipment there, and the climate is difficult sometimes. You don't want to be there when it's hot out, but it seems like you guys are teaming up with NASCAR a lot, obviously to your advantage with Kyle, and it'll be interesting to see going back to Vegas, because Haven't raced there in a while. Sometimes the racing was awesome. Sometimes it wasn't that great. So obviously, no matter what, it's fun to go to Vegas.
Yeah, I actually went to a modified race. That's how, I went and watched the end of the year. There was a modified race at Vegas. So I hadn't been to a modified race in a long time, but I went and kind of got an idea of the track and the equipment and stuff. So, and it helps us being based on the West Coast getting to Vegas. So yeah, I think I think it'll be exciting. We'll see how it goes for sure. So
yeah, for sure. So what do you think here in the future of sprint car racing with will you think we get to a point where we could have races together with the World of Outlaws and High Limit? You think that's something that's that's doable? And I feel like, I guess what do you think? What do you feel on all that?
I think it's a pretty loaded question. There's a lot of aspects that would, and there's a lot of, obviously right now there, the Outlaws won't even mention or, acknowledge that High Limit exists, as far as to the public. So, obviously they don't love the challenge and, what we're doing. Obviously they feel like they've done a good job and been in the space a long time and don't like, feeling the pressure of the competition. But at the end of the day, the goal is to try to drive sprint car racing up. So, I think we'll see how it goes this year. I would love to run against you again for a championship in the next few years. I don't know how many more years I'm gonna run full time, so hopefully we do get that opportunity to kind of go at it again. And you just never really know what the future holds. Right this second, the way the ecosystem's working is kind of we're doing our own thing, they're doing their own thing, but we let our guys go to all the big races. So essentially, you do see High Limit versus the World of Outlaw guys at Knoxville and the Kings Royal and Huset's and, a few of the other events along the way. So, I think that's fun when we all come together. Those are super competitive events and they're typically the bigger events, and obviously the atmosphere and everything gets raised up. But as far as the future, I mean, I would love to do whatever's going to be best for the sport and the health of the sport. And if that's, coming together at some point, it's coming together at some point. And if it's, competing, it's competing. You look at the late models, they've been competing for a long time, and that's kind of how they built their two businesses. And, there's been, some changes. The World of Outlaw late models can run, Lucas Oil late model races and vice versa. So will it get to that point where we're kind of able to run a little with a little more freedom? Maybe, is there a point where, we all come together? Maybe, I don't know. You just kind of keep our heads down and, keep kind of fighting for what we think's best for the sport and keep fighting for, our teams and drivers and building our High Limit events and building our brand and really, I think we have a great product. Sprint car racing is a great product. Dirt track racing is a great product. I think we're just super focused on, how we showcase that product, because I think that's really where we've stunted our growth over the last, 10 years or so.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see what the future holds. I feel like we're in such a transition period with our sport. Obviously, I'm a little biased towards the World of Outlaws. I put a lot of my career into the World of Outlaws, and working on that all-time wins list was always something that was something fun. That me and you were always like in the same spot. But you kind of touch on the topic. You want to race with me for a championship again one day. So everybody asked the question. It's not my fault Brad Sweet left and went to the High Limit Series and I won a championship. But if you had to say, if you ran full-time World of Outlaws this past year, I mean, how do you think it would have turned out? Because everybody thinks they know what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had great battles, and I have, a ton of respect for you and Cody and Todd and what you guys are building. I think it's not fair to say what would have happened or not. I think you guys are very deserving champions. I just put it that way. Like, you guys have been, nipping, we went down to the final race how many times within, a points battle that could have went either way. So I think you're very deserving, and who knows how this year would have went. I don't think it's fair to you guys to say that we would have won because we didn't race against you guys and we weren't in the same mindset as what that takes to kind of compete for that championship like that. I mean, a lot of times when you're racing for those championships, it's those moments where you get your back against the wall, or what your competitor does and how you respond. And obviously with the high limit stuff, we had a battle with Tyler, but once we went to the West Coast, there was a lot of separation. So I didn't have as a great of a season as I wanted to on the performance side, but still had a good solid year. And who's to say if my sole focus was with the Outlaws? I think if history seemed like it was going to repeat itself, we probably would have had a great battle again. I think without a doubt we could agree upon that. And Carson would have been right there nipping at us like he has the last couple of years. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully we'll get to a point where we get to battle and get to kind of hash it out. I know you want to beat me. I know you've been right there a lot, and you put a lot of pressure on me, and it was always fun going down to the wire. So I look forward to that day again when we get to do that.
Yeah, it just seemed like performance-wise, like I feel like I've always been there. We've had the stats to do it. It's those couple of nights, DNFs, a crash, part failure, being wrong place at wrong time, right? And even this year, I just felt like our performance was good enough to overcome that. My mistake at Atomic crashing, and then the deal happened at Paducah. But this year I felt like leading the nation in wins, and then going on some really strong stretches. We're always able to recover, and I feel like that's what you have to do. If you have a bad night, you need to come back out the next night and run well. So, proud of our season, but it still wasn't perfect, right? And I think every season's not perfect unless probably the last perfect season was, Donnie, when he won 30 races in a year and his average finish was on the podium. I think it's hard to really get better than that.
Well, I think you should be proud of everything you did, and you shouldn't have to defend yourself to haters on the internet or anything like that. You went out there and you beat the composition that was presented to you, and you led the nation of wins and earnings, and at the end of the day, you should just be proud of that, and winning is the best way to shut haters up. So I'm happy for you, bud.
I appreciate it. That's the worst thing with this high limit outlaw thing is how brutal social media is. It's unbelievable how so many people hate the World of Outlaws and how many people hate the high limit series. It's like I thought we're all sprint car racing fans, and I guess that's just the nature of social media. Is there's a lot of negativity. There's positivity as well, but you look through the comment section and it's just like absolutely brutal. What people have to say.
Well, I think that just actually shows how passionate they are. And, there's a lot of people that are very brand loyal in sprint car racing and care about the sport. And then there's people that, love the competition side of it and love the extra entertainment and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a small amount of people making a large amount of noise is how I look at it. And, it's cool, when they cross the line is when they talk about families and stuff, but most of it's just fun, and you can use it as motivation more than anything. So you'll never meet a hater doing better than you. So
well, I just feel like if there's one series, like guys like Brent Marks and Rico and a lot of these other people that hopped on the high limit series aren't running the World of Outlaws, you know what I mean? I feel like there's not going to be 25 people running one series in sprint car racing, because if there is, not everybody's making the show every night, and you can't take a provisional every night, and it just doesn't work that way. I feel like the Outlaws have always been in the sweet spot of having 13 to 15 guys. Kind of seems to be pretty good for them. When they're at 18, I think they don't want that many. That's too many, So I think there's
not enough resources to go around. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And so, a lot more resources, but even for yourself, I mean, how many times were you home on a midweek and were able to turn on a high limit race and enjoy it? it's like it wasn't a bad thing having more, more entertainment. I didn't feel like, and high level entertainment. Both groups of teams were, or both sets of drivers or on High Limit and World of Outlaws were both could win in either division. So when you guys were off and we were running the midweek, there was something for fans to watch, and we were off and there was an outlet race. There was always something for the fans to watch, and that's a positive thing for sprint car racing. So a rising tide raises all ships, and I think you saw a little bit of that with sprint car racing this year. There was a lot of eyes and a lot of great entertainment this year, and a lot of great racing, whether it be High Limit or World of Outlaws. So yeah, I mean, I think we just got to see how the ecosystem handles it, and you do see some battles with the schedules, but for instance, we had the New York swing, and the Outlaws kind of put Oswego and then Cornwall. So now there's like 5 races within a few hours up in that same region. So we'll see how the fans handle that. And there's a lot going on in Wisconsin right now. Where we were kind of in on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and then they have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're going head to head on a Wednesday in Minnesota. So you do see some stuff that I don't think is necessarily great for the fans, and we'll have to get worked out eventually. But in the short term, there's definitely some battles going on for some regions.
Yeah, I feel like the New York thing, it's going to be interesting. I know we were supposed to maybe run Weedsport that week, and you guys put those races there, and then I think that region's going to support all those races, in my opinion. And I think the Canada races will be a home run for sure. But I feel like the New York fans love wing sprint car racing, and they don't get enough of it. I feel like they used to get way more of it back in the day. We'd go to Middletown and Lebanon Valley, and we would go to Rolling Wheels. There's a lot of places. And then the All-Stars, I feel like, always went to at least 3 or 4 of those tracks and kind of changed that up over the years. So that'll be interesting. Wisconsin, the most national series races for Wisconsin as a state in a long time. So I'm really interested to see. I feel like, Beaver Dam and Cedar Lake and Wilmot always have great crowds. So I'm curious to see if the state can handle it. What I could say is T-shirt sales and attendance have always been super high and good at Wisconsin. So we'll see if the economy is zooming and everybody could afford to go to all those events.
Yep, agreed. I think we just gotta, see if it works out, but we don't want to go backwards and oversaturate any of those things. So, I was surprised by some of the additions, that you guys added to your schedule. But at the end of the day, this is all, we just got to learn from what happens this year and do whatever we think's best for to move forward.
Yeah, for sure. So I seen the Kings Royals paying $200,000 next year. Did you guys announce what your Joker's jackpot race is going to pay this coming year?
It'll stay 100,000.
We will.
This year. So we'll have 100 on Thursday, and then 200 on Saturday, and then obviously Todd's event at Huset's with the 100 and the 250. So Knoxville obviously 100. What is it, 185, and then you have our 2 other 100,000 to wins besides that. So I mean, it's a good time to be a sprint car racer, that's for sure. And these purses are growing, which is great. You're seeing the crowds growing, you're seeing atmosphere, and yeah, it's honestly it's been pretty cool to watch how quick it's grown over the last few years.
I just hope no matter who's involved in the sport, no matter if you're a series owner or what, but I feel like if we get the percentage of the general population to know what a sprint car is and try to up that percentage every year, is just going to be a huge benefit, because there's so many people that have no idea what we do or what we are doing. And I think I love that the Outlaws have races on CBS Sports Network just to get them on national TV to try to get eyes on the sport. And
yeah, agreed. And honestly, you saw the Dome the other night, 30,000 people. I mean, the sport's, on the cusp of really growing. It's just, it's trying to find those avenues to create the awareness for those casual fans out there, and how we showcase our products, ultra important, I believe. And we've talked a lot about it going up and down the road, after many of these long nights. So, I think you see the high limit thing, is hyper focused on efficiency and the fan engagement part of the show. And I just think it's just going to take time. You just got to keep focused on those things that matter the most.
Do you see us ever racing a wing sprint car in a stadium, in a dome, in a football size stadium? Because we need obviously at least a football field to make an okay track. But do you think it's doable for a wing sprint car?
I do. I mean, I think we'd have to figure it out. I think there's obviously an avenue, and there's just something about an arena atmosphere that elevates every sport. And so you have the suites, and you have nice concessions and nice bathrooms, and just there's just something about that. So if we can figure it out, a few of those down the road, obviously that's a huge undertaking. I think it'd be really great for sprint car racing if we can get in, one of those types of arenas or football stadiums or something that's enclosed, or has a good enough roof that you could race more in the wintertime or something. So I'm sure a lot of people have looked into it over the years, and it's anytime you build temporary tracks, it's a huge undertaking and a huge risk. So hats off to the guys at the Dome, and obviously the Chili Bowl's had a huge success. So we're certainly always looking at every opportunity that could present itself down the road.
Cool. Let's see. How do you balance it all? How this year, do you feel like there's sometimes you're really disconnected with the race car and the race team, or vice versa? It was like, hey, I got to stop worrying about high limit and I got to focus on my racing. Like, how throughout the season do you truly, balance it all? Does it change week to week? Are you still learning how to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big, took a big risk and big undertaking with, building a series. So, I think at times I get pretty focused on that because I see a lot of potential, and I know that the big picture in my mind is, the overall sport of sprint car racing and what I believe it can be. And so that's the avenue for that is the series. And so sometimes I get pretty focused on that. I spend a lot of my days just, on calls and exploring avenues and, talking to people in the sport, out of the sport, to get ideas and think about it. But I think once you get into the season, there's a lot less for me to worry about, as far as that type of stuff. And we're more just going to the events, having the events, kind of looking at, after the fact, looking at our ticketing numbers and, kind of talking with the crew about how the show was ran. But they did such a good job, and I think they truly have bought into, the efficiency of the programs and the fan engagement stuff that our staff does a really good job. So when I'm at a high limit race, probably from about the first quarter of the season on, I kind of felt like I was just there to race, and I think that was a big part of, I think people were probably concerned that I'd be too involved, but having Mike Hess and having Anthony Carini and, those guys really just handle the competition side allows me to just be a race car driver. I think Gold Cup's always the most challenging one because we're promoting the event and, having the series and trying to drive the car. I think that one is a bit extreme. But everything else, you can kind of find some balance through the season, just being more focused on driving the race car. And then this off season, probably need to put more time into the car, but, probably putting a little, more of my time into high limit, which is where it needs to be right this second.
Thomas Ray has a question for you. So what's up, David? I have a question for you and Brad. My question for you is, what is your favorite track in Texas, if you have one? And for Brad, what he thought about Texas Motor Speedway's facility.
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, I honestly, Texas, we have raced at Cotton Bowl, Texas Motor Speedway, and Devil's Bowl. I think I've raced at a few other tracks, but they don't stick out, so I don't think they were my favorite. But honestly, Texas Motor Speedway, when it's right, is pretty cool. The facility, the lighting, the tunnel, just everything about that place is cool. Devil's Bowl was super unique, but I think I'd go with Texas Motor Speedway. And honestly, if we can get the dirt a little more figured out, I think it's a really, really great racetrack, to be honest.
I've never been to Texas Motor Speedway, so I can't talk on that. But do you remember that one track? It wasn't very nice. Gator Motorplex or something it was called.
Was that in Houston?
I don't know if it was Houston. I won there in the CJB car last time we were there, and this is a terrible thing that happened. But somebody got hit in the pits there.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I think
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Gate or something. I think the track closed down.
Yeah.
But that track was cool. It was like high banked and kind of tight turns.
Yeah. Small. Quarter mile.
Yeah, like to me, Cotton Bowl is dark. And could race well when the track is right. Yeah, the track is closed. The Chaz says Willis, Texas. I forget the name of it. Pretty sure it was Gator something, I believe. But that track was a fun shape, just kind of like the Rev, right? Like the Rev was a cool track, and
that was a great race.
That place is closed too.
Remember that race we had there?
Yeah, that was my first win in the 2 cars. So that was that was a fun race.
That was a good race. Yep.
Unique track, and it was a lot of fun. And it just the stars aligned, right? They had the track really, really good, and
yeah, it was.
Yeah, one and done. All right. So what's your beef with James McFadden, man? Why did you have to crash him twice this past year?
Oh man, I love J-Mac. I felt so freaking bad. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that I wrecked into the same guy twice. I haven't really wrecked into someone in quite a while. I didn't feel like anyway. I mean, maybe I have, but I felt like James, the first one at Salina, I think I just got in the grease a little, and when I lifted, James, he does have a unique driving style. He does open his entry a lot, and I drive. It's something we've talked about a lot too. Is like I drive really straight and hard in the corner, and you arc the corner. I've had close calls with you quite a few times where, I wasn't expecting you to get to where you get. With James, I feel like the same thing. Like he'll get his car out and then get it back in. He does a lot of his turning early, and I do a lot of my turning later in the corner. So I lifted at Salina, but I was kind of in some grease, and kind of the way I hit him just shipped him. It was kind of a weird deal. And then honestly, Texas was kind of similar. He was really opening his entry into 3, and I just was shortening the corner and thought I could just get past him. And then once he was coming back towards me, it's when I lift, basically the car unloads and I kind of basically get into him. But both were terrible, and I felt horrible. But you never want to take anybody out, and especially a guy that you actually genuinely care about.
Yeah, now he doesn't even want to race in America anymore. Like he just.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it sucks. Because I'll miss racing against James for sure.
I felt like he had a good thing going with Roth. I felt like,
he did. I think he's, it's admirable, and I think you could relate to it. I mean, he's got a young family, and they're making a way bigger sacrifice than, because they're leaving the country, that they're living in a motorhome. It's just, everybody's living his dream. And, I think going back home, Zoe gets to kind of get back to what her life, and Mav can go to school. And so, he's basically saying, hey, they made the sacrifice, and now it's time for me to be a dad and a husband. So, that's pretty admirable what he's doing. And I can appreciate that, because I think as you get older, things come a lot more into perspective when you have kids. And, it's cool that he's, acknowledging that and doing what's best for his family.
Well, he's about your age, right?
Yeah, a couple years younger. And, it's hard to walk away from, where he's at. But I mean, it's a huge undertaking to run a full season, especially being from a different country.
Yeah, I can only imagine if I had to race full time in Australia, just kind of how disconnected you get with your family, or just what's going on from where you're from. Like it's got to be tough. And then you see guys like, the Madsen brothers, commit their life to living in America, and I feel like that's the thing. Is Brooke Tatnall, same thing. I feel like if you come here to race full time and that's what you want to do, it's like you got to commit and get your citizenship in America, your working visa or whatever it is to commit, and you end up being an American at the end of it pretty much. But, J-Mac, I felt like always dabbled in doing it. And then I think he won some races and won some outlaw races, and then got some great opportunities with obviously KKR and now Roth. And, I'm guessing he probably never thought it was going to happen. And then he ended up doing it. And he's like, all right, let's see how long this lasts.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's his choice. I think they would have, kept racing, but, yeah, it's just, you get to a point where you got to make a decision, and, he can make good money in Australia and live a little bit more of a normal life. So I think he's doing the right thing for his family, or doing what he thinks is the right thing for his family, which is cool.
Yep. Brett F has a good question. How many teams do you guys think will run Kaiser wheels and hubs at the Knoxville Nationals to try the extra 100,000 bonus?
I think teams that just run Kaiser will keep Kaiser wheels. I don't think anybody will change necessarily.
Yeah, that's tough to say.
You'd have to spend like what, 20 grand to go get the right amount of stuff to compete at that level. Like you'd have to buy 4 front wheels, 3 right rear wheels, three like 4 left rear wheels to really do it right.
And front hubs too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So.
I mean, you'd have to spend a ton of money, and because you're not going to go there and be changing your left rear tire onto your Kaiser wheel every time it's just not the way it works. So you want all your stuff mounted and balanced, especially you're not in your trailer. You're in a flatbed trailer. So yeah, I think someone could do it if they're on Kaiser wheels. I just don't see a lot of people like changing to it to try it.
Yeah, I feel like maybe a couple will. But every wheel manufacturer, the wheel offsets are a little bit different. I know people have moved over to Sanders, right? Some things are a little bit different, or between all the manufacturers, an 8 off or 7 off or 6 off aren't all exactly the same. And, that's just another thing that could, mess you up or get your car not right. And Knoxville is so finicky. I mean, to get your car good around the bottom at Knoxville and drive equally off the rear tires, that's something, when you get it right, you really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
All right, Brad. Well, I'm going to let these people see if they have any more questions for us. But if not, we will end it off there with an easy hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah, cool. All right, we'll tell Jill and Levi hi, and yeah, I'm ready. I'm racing Chili Bowl now. I just found out. So
really,
yeah. So I'm gonna do Chili Bowl, and then I'll see you at Volusia.
Could you announce what car or what?
Yeah, I mean, the E-Step team, Matt E-Step's team. I guess Justin Grant left and went to Chad Boat's team, so there was an opening, and I'm landing from Australia the Sunday before Chili Bowl, so just gonna go straight there. So I'm making my return. I haven't been in a few years. I didn't think I'd ever race a midget again, but it's a good opportunity, and maybe give it one more shot here.
Is Rachel thrilled or what?
She doesn't love midget racing, but she understands.
Yep. I got you, man. Busy off season. Kyle's wearing off on you.
Yeah, he is. But Australia's fun. You'll have to come one of these years. It's a good time. You can bring your family, and it's a lot like a vacation, and you get to race a little bit. So it'll be good.
I'll be there one day once Levi gets a little older, so he could actually remember it and enjoy it. But
yeah, you'll have to tune in and watch the high limit race at Perth. It'll be on about 9 a.m. for you guys.
9 a.m. I'm up now because I'm a dad, so I'm definitely up that early.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for having me on. Good chat, man. And congrats on your season. And obviously, look forward to racing again this year.
Yeah, you too. I will see you at PRI.
All right, bud. See ya.
Yep. See you later. All right, guys. Brad Sweet. I think we covered a lot of the things that we wanted to talk about. Nothing too confrontational, pretty relaxed, conversation, but it's going to be interesting to see what the future holds with our sport. Can we maintain 2 national series down the road? That's the question. So we will see. I feel like we each have a lot of respect for each other. They have a lot of ideas, and not that they're going against the grain, but I think a lot of not innovating ideas, but maybe just a different mind. They're kind of new in their role that they're doing, and these rule changes, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here down the road. And it's going to be something that's going to be very, very, very interesting on how it all plays out. Knoxville holds a lot of the cards with rule changes, and pretty much what the World of Outlaws do in Knoxville carry a lot of weight in the rules. So be interesting to see what Knoxville chooses on the wicker bill deal. Right now we're sticking with the 1-inch wicker. So if Knoxville does the same, then I see everybody sticking with the 1-inch. So we will see. Somebody's asking, what helmet is this? Yep, this is the Brad Doty helmet. Thought it was cool. Get some nostalgic stuff in here, and that's the suit I won at the Knoxville Nationals. Jill sent that out to Jeff Gordon and had him sign it for me, and he wrote a little note on there. So figure get some old school memorabilia in here. Obviously it's not the coolest backdrop, but we're trying with some lighting, and you saw Levi knock down the lighting earlier tonight. But eventually, when I get a bigger house, I'll have a studio where we could have very, very cool stuff. But in the meantime, we're going to do the best we can with what we have. So, like to do cool and different things. We're headed out to the PRI show tomorrow. Really excited for that. We'll be in the Simpson Racing booth. This week, we're going to do a interview with Steve Post and MRN, and then we'll be at the Butler Built booth on Friday. So we got some cool stuff planned. We'll be doing social media stuff the whole time we're there. Carter's flying in, and we're going to go shake hands and see all the people that support us and continue to do right by all those people. So really excited for that. I hope everybody has a good holiday. We will keep doing these shows. We'll do one next Tuesday. Probably don't have a guest picked out yet, but Brad had some interesting things to say. I wanted to kind of see how many teams he thought were going to get on board for next year, but I feel like the Outlaws are going to gain some people and High Limit are going to lose some people. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have an equal number of drivers on both series. And, everybody's going to be at Volusia, and then, the High Limit guys have a lot of time off till they race next. And then we'll be back for the Bike Week weekend, and then our season really, kicks off after the Bike Week weekend. So hopefully everybody got all the answers they wanted to hear. And, we're going to just end her here, finish it off, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday. I got to thank all my sponsors: Marlowe Metal Fabricating, Houston Speedway, Billion Automotive, Jackson Motorplex, Butler Built Seats, Impact Signs, Houston's Hustle, and the High Bank Nationals coming. Impact keeping my t-shirt trailer looking good. They did the new signs at Houston's this year. So appreciate everything they do for me, and keeping Houston Speedway looking good as well with their Jumbotron there. So appreciate you guys. Check out shopdgr.com. We're going to drop a last-minute Christmas sale, and everything that you want for Christmas will have to be ordered and shipped by Friday to get it guaranteed for Christmas, guys. So you guys have a good night, and let me know in the comment section what you guys want to see next. Who do you want to see next as a guest? What do you like? What don't you like about the show? But we're keep trying to, evolve this deal and make it better. And we love feedback. Peace out, guys.
Dude, I did it so bad.
We don't want to look like to your crew chief here.
Yeah, we don't want to look like we're soft.
Yes, is it you or the car?
Oh, yeah.